So let me tell you a little bit about our next Power Voice speaker. You see, uh, for almost more than 3 decades, this next speaker enjoyed a successful career in human resources for some of the most recognizable global corporate corporations. But increasingly, she felt a pull in her heart to do something more meaningful and more impactful. And let me just stop right there for a second and speak candidly. How many of you can relate to that? Can relate to having a successful career over here, but being called and pulled to do something over here. That's her story, right? Like I'm sure so many of you, she's got that in common with you. So increasingly, she felt a pull in her heart to do something more meaningful and more impactful. And in January 2020, she decided to answer the call, and she discovered her gift. And today, she inspires women to connect with their inner power so that they can create the life they desired. What she's going to share with you today, what she's going to talk about, is she's going to talk to you about why you need to bet on you. Ladies and gentlemen, give a bunch of hearts, a bunch of likes, and welcome to the stage, Ene Obi. Hey, Ene! I think we got to unmute you. I see you there. Oh, we got to unmute you. There you are.
You stopped the music, Devon. I was
Oh,
dancing.
my apologies. You can dance too. I love it. This is going to be Power Voice Summit Dance Edition for the rest of the day. The stage,
Hello.
the stage is yours. You rock it. I'll be back after. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ene Obi, and I am so delighted to be speaking to you today from London in the UK. I want to first of all thank Les Brown, thank John Tallarico, thank the entire Power Voice team for this wonderful opportunity, and also thank the other participants for sharing the stage with me today. I am absolutely pumped to be here with you. So my story is called Bet on You. And I'm going to start my story by telling you about a place I once lived. You see, the way 2020 is set up, a lot of people are suffering. Aside from the devastation of human loss, people are suffering. People are going through hardship. People are going through eviction, depression, distress, anxiety, uncertainty, insecurity, fear, job loss, potential job loss. And people feel that they've never had to deal with what they're going through now. It is a totally new experience, a totally new space. And because they've never dealt with this before, they don't believe they have the skills and the tools to get them across the line. They're out of their depth. I get it. I get it. I get what these people are going through. You know why? Because I was there before. I have lived that life. I used to live in a place called despair. And I lived on a street called despair. So all around me, you guessed it, was despair. You see, in 2001, I left a great job in arguably the most prestigious investment bank in the world. If you think of the top 3 investment banks in the world, it's not 2, and it is certainly not 3. I left that job to set up my own business. Approximately 3.5, 4 years later, that business failed. Me thousands and thousands of pounds in debt. I had more debt than I could ever think of earning, and I was well and truly out of my depth. I didn't see a way out. I didn't have the hope, the belief, to see a way out of this deep hole that I was in. Not only was I in that hole, I had dragged my family into that hole with me. I had two sons. I have two sons. One who was probably about 10 at the time, and one who must have been about 6, 7. So not only did I get myself in a mess, but I took people with me. So I'm sure you can imagine not just my pain, but the personal responsibility that I felt for this situation. I was in despair. I didn't see a way out of this. And I'm ashamed to say that I was tempted several times to do something foolish. I didn't see any hope. I didn't see a way out. The failure of that business dealt me a heavy blow. And in my mind, I was ruined because I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the hope to think that I had the skills to get through that. I was out of my depth. I used to get phone calls and letters and emails from my creditors, banks, and financial institutions. Very, very unpleasant letters. So anyway, my husband, bless him, we sat down and we looked at our situation. And we decided that the best way out of this, the only way out of this, was to put a fence, if you like, ring fence what we owed, what I owed. But what he said was what we owed. And the only option available to us was to get a second mortgage on our property. Let me say very quickly, that property was our only property. So by getting this second mortgage, we were effectively putting that property in jeopardy. So I now ran the risk of losing our home because of me. But we did it. We did it. We stayed focused. We put our heads down and we chipped away at that debt. I went back to work and we chipped away at that debt. 5 years later, in 2010, and we remain debt-free until today. We remain debt-free today. I don't know how many of you have had the unfortunate, the awful experience of having to have a second mortgage on your property. It's soul destroying. You feel worthless. You feel genuinely worthless. And even when you're filling out the paperwork, on literally every other line, it seems, you're being told, you run the risk of losing your home. Like you don't know, like you have a choice. You wouldn't be doing this if you had the choice. But we did it, and as I say, we are debt-free. It's funny how the same banks, the same credit card companies that used to write me letters and send me emails and call me are still writing me letters, are still sending me emails. Thank you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not going to be stopped from sharing this story. So I was saying that it's interesting how the same banks who used to write me awful letters and send me nasty emails and make nasty phone calls to me are the same banks that are now still writing me messages, still sending me emails, still calling me. But this time, what are they saying to me? Well, hello, Mrs. Obi. We'd like to tell you that you've been pre-qualified for a loan. And I'm like, well, honey, you don't qualify for me. No, not on my watch. No. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt, I'm over that. No, we move. So that business failed. Huge debts, came out of debt, move on. But I shared my story for two reasons. One, I have shared that story with friends and family. And people who have heard it have been moved and have been inspired and have felt that if Ene could go through that, I can go through that. I have never gone public with my story. And this is my one opportunity. And that's why I say Wi-Fi will not stand in my way. I need to share my story because I need to speak to somebody and let that person know. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what debts you have. I don't care what obstacles you have in front of you. You are able. You are able and you are ready and you are enough to deal with anything in your way. You may think that you haven't got the experience and you may not have the experience, but let me tell you, you can develop the skills. You can and you will. You can and you will. How? I want to ask you, I want to encourage you to think of your life as a book. Today is the end of the current chapter. And tomorrow is the start of the next chapter. You have read this current chapter too many times. It's time to move on. You cannot move forward if you keep reading and rereading the current chapter. It's time to move on. So what do? You turn over the page. You get a beautiful looking pen like I have here. Make it the most beautiful looking pen you can get your hands on and you start to write your story. It's your story and you're the hero in that story. It's your life and you're the author of your life. You need to write it the way you want it to go and not the way life and external factors have moved you and swayed you into all kinds of places that you don't want to go. You need to take control of this situation and say, no, it's my story. I have one life and I'm going to live it my way. I'm going to create my story. I've got my pen. You can't share it, but guess what? I've got a spare pen and it's brand new. You can see it's wrapped up. You can borrow this. Write your story. Create your life the way you want it to go. I learned 3 key messages in that story I just shared with you, and I'm going to share them with you. The first lesson I learned, 3 key lessons. The first lesson I learned is accept responsibility. Accept responsibility for where you are today. Les Brown says that wherever you find yourself in life, you made an appointment to be there. Accept responsibility. Think about how you got here and think about how you're going to move forward. This is the one time where I give you permission to look behind you at what you have overcome in the past and say to yourself, you know what? If I could overcome that, I can deal with what's in front of me. Because sometimes we lose sight of how far we've come. We lose sight of how strong we are. We think we're not able. Stand, look behind you, look at the mountains that you have climbed and say, oh, what I've got in front of me is nothing compared to what I've been through already. Lesson number 2, you are stronger than you think you are. You will have down days, but I want to share with you, you are not broken. You may be down, but you're not broken. You're stronger than you think you are. And when you feel like you're down, it's okay. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and borrow someone else's belief in you until your belief kicks in. Because there are times when we feel, I can't, not today. I'm genuinely not able. I am weak. And that's fine because you're human. But that's when you need to say to yourself, I need to find my tribe of people who believe in me. And this is their time to take me through. I will borrow their belief in me until my belief kicks in. And lesson number 3, gratitude. Be grateful for the blessings in your life because you do have them. When you're down in the depths of despair, you don't always recognize that you have them, but you do have them. Mine was my family. My family, my husband, my children, my brothers, and my sisters, they know who they are. They carried me. There were days when I was so weak, I couldn't move, I couldn't stand. And they literally carried me. They carried me. And they said, we got you. You're going nowhere. We've got this. And my problem was their problem. And I am thankful for them in my life. And I say thank you. You know who you are. I thank you. Recap. Accept responsibility. Understand that you are stronger than you are. Be grateful for the blessings in your life. You have them. So I want to say that, as I said, I think I was saying at the start of this, I have shared this story with only friends and family until now, and people in my inner circle who I was happy to expose myself to. I felt safe. But earlier on this year, actually, before I say that, I should say the reason why I wasn't able to go further out than my inner circle was because deep inside of me, I was still ashamed. I was still ashamed of what I had done and how I had gotten myself and my family to this point. Only this year did I realize, with everything going on in the world, I said to myself, come on, you're bigger than this. That story inside you, that story of how you overcame, that is not a burden. It's a weapon. It's a weapon. It's a blueprint. It's a guide. It's an anchor. It's a reference point that other people can hang their faith on and say, if she could do that, then hey, so can I. If Ene could do that, then hey, so can I. It is a weapon. I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm not ashamed. I went through that so I can live and share the story and tell you, you are able, you are enough, and you are ready. But I want to share something else with you. Now, this blew my mind. It still blows my mind. I only decided 3 months ago, I'm not a public speaker. I've worked in human resources for almost 3 decades. I am not a public speaker. I've only ever done presentations to internal staff members at work. Only 3 months ago, I decided that my path, my heart was in this space. Ladies and gentlemen, exactly 3 months later, I am here on this platform, on Les Brown's Facebook page, sharing my story with you. And you think miracles don't happen? Oh yes, miracles do happen.
They do.
Thank you. Can I just share this with anyone who wants to connect with me?
Go ahead, yeah,
please?
real quick. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Contact, and I tell you what, there's as you guys are writing down her information, I got to tell you that is probably the biggest testament. What you left us with, this idea that 3 months ago you decided to say yes to the message that was inside of you, and just 3 months later you are sharing the stage with Les Brown on his platform with your message going out to hundreds of thousands of people. That is testimony. So Annie, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you so much for
Thank
sharing your
you.
powerful testimony.